guys, so we're gonna do a little Q&A. So I wrote down some questions, and I didn't really feel like working on a whole lot today after work. So pretty much in the same status that we were yesterday. Just got done finishing the 4x4 two-wheel drive to four-wheel drive conversion on the 4L80 transmission. And I think what we're gonna do is just a little Q&A. So we're gonna chit chat and we're gonna talk about some things. So I just wrote down some questions that I've been getting from people, or questions that I get frequently and I kind of would like to answer and talk about. So let's get started. So if you have any other questions or you want to see me do another Q&A video like this, I just wrote down 10 questions. I feel like that's a good single video topic is 10 questions. And if you guys have other questions you're curious about, leave it in the comments and I'll start to compile the questions. It seems like every time I ask for a Q&A video, people like never say anything. So I'm just going to go through the questions that people are naturally asking. So let's get started. So why did you LS swap your Ranger? So if this is going back quite a while, and I've had a lot of subscribers, probably almost half of the subscribers that I have right now were because of the Ranger and the LS swap that I did in it. So I originally decided to swap it because the 4-liter V6 engine that was in there was leaking oil, it was leaking coolant, the transmission was starting to slip, and honestly at the time I wanted to get back into YouTube and making videos because I was doing car audio stuff for a long time and I really enjoyed doing that, and I kind of just needed a project. I was looking for a project. I wanted something to film and record and share with people, and I thought that was a perfect opportunity. I was interested in V8 swaps, and the V8 swap was very popular on the channel when I did it before with my Nissan hardbody, and kind of got out of videos, and it was just like everything kind of came together and decided to do it and LS swap the Ranger because that was the first fuel injected V8 swap that I did. Good learning opportunity, and I enjoyed it. So this truck, you guys, if you don't like it, I am sorry, but it is gonna stick with me for a long time. Some of you may know, some of you don't. If you're new, this was my great-grandfather's truck, and I inherited this when he died when I was 16 years old. So there's a lot of sentimental value with this truck, and it's not going anywhere. So I actually owned this truck for a while. I'm 32 now, and I had this truck since I was 16 or 17. I actually sold it in about 2011 because it had a bad head gasket and there was some issues with it, and I didn't touch engines. I didn't know anything about anything mechanical at the time, and when I moved into this house, I didn't want to take it with me. I was driving a different vehicle, my Chrysler 300 at the time. This was just sitting and had a bad head gasket, and I didn't want to pay to haul it or move it to the new house, and I ended up selling it on Craigslist for $500. And when I started working on my Nissan hardbody and doing the V8 swap and that thing, I really started to miss this truck because a lot of my vehicle modification, everything started with this truck, and with like installing stereos and just tinkering around. Started with this thing and I really missed it. I wanted it back. I found the guy who owned it at the time, and I managed to find it using finding VIN number and using Carfax and stuff, and ended up finding the guy and messaged him, and I was like, hey, I think you have my old truck. Can I buy it back? And he sold it to me. He was awesome about it, and that's where we're at today. So that's why I decided to swap it. And I guess specifically on the LS swap, it's cheap. That's basically what it is. Yes, I have thought about doing like a Coyote swap in this thing, and it's not completely off the table as of now. I'm not against Ford. I'm not against, Coyote. I'm not like super LS nut hugger guy. I'm just, It's cheap, reliable, and that's pretty much it. And I enjoyed learning a lot about it, but it may be on the table down the road to go towards like a Coyote and put the Ford back in the Ford. Not that I really care. It's a big chunk of metal with rubber wheels, and there's something in it that runs it. That's really all I care about. So I'm not much of a brand fanatic, I guess you could say. So question number 2. Why would you remove a supercharged LQ? Maybe I am an LS fanboy. Why would you remove a supercharged VQ and replace it with something with less power? So basically this question is referring to the Nissan 350Z. I bought this thing and it had a Vortex supercharged VQ, built VQ, and some of you are following, you know the story. It had a lot of receipts. The person who originally built it put a lot of money into it, and the transmission when I bought the car was bad transmission, so I was pulling everything out to replace the transmission. And I'm familiar with the LS platform and wanted to do the V8 swap. I thought it would be fun for me to do. I'd like to do it. I like the car. I'm familiar with the platform, and I can throw a turbo on it for really cheap and make the same power. So that's essentially the goal. To basically pull the supercharged VQ out, sell it, and then swap it back for something that's going to make more power for less cost. So that's essentially where I'm at. So even with buying the turbos, and this swap now, I'm going to do some more work on the oil pan, but even with the turbos that I bought, so I'll be able to twin turbo this engine with the swap, and I bought myself a TIG welder for less than the price that I sold the VQ for. So I feel like that's a good deal. Some don't really see that or think it's weird, and that is perfectly fine with me, but that's what I did. All right, question number 3. Why don't you just do it right, or pay a pro, or spend more money on stuff that's more reliable? So there's kind of a lot of questions here that are asked in many different ways, whether it's related to tuning or engine building or doing different things. So a lot of it is just because I'm learning. So there's a lot that I'm learning, and you will probably always hear me say that. I am always learning. I am never going to be one that is going to say I know a whole lot. I'm just not like that. I don't like being like that, and I feel like when you get to that point where you know a lot, you don't know a lot, or you basically have plateaued and you're at a point where you're admitting that you're not willing to learn anymore. And I just feel like I'm having fun, learning things, and I like to test stuff also. So I don't see as much joy in like buying something just to drive it, or building something just to drive it. That's my opinion, and that could be completely different than your opinion. A lot of people take a lot of pride in building things properly, the right way. Like, I think there is definitely a right way and a not so right way to do things, but it kind of depends on the goals, really. You know, if you're building it to be reliable and you're going to drive it 100,000 miles, you're going to build it different than I'm building something that I'm like almost intentionally planning on breaking. So, and it helps with the learning process, because when you break stuff, repeatedly break stuff, you learn more. You learn how not to break it. So that's kind of where I'm at. I'm very invested right now in expanding my knowledge and trying to push things and break things and learn as much as I can. So that's why I did talk about it in a couple other videos. I think I want to do that with the truck and keep this more of like the more budget-minded, and we'll test it. We'll test the boundaries with the truck. But I did originally buy the car with the intent that this was going to be like me and my wife's toy car, and that we're gonna drive this thing. So I've said that in a few other videos. So I wanna build this thing a little bit nicer, more reliable than, say, the truck, and hopefully we can just drive this thing so we can get like a lot of driving videos and spend some time together driving, and do some husband-wife bonding while we're driving. So stuff like that, like learning how to drift. We want to go to some drift events. We've never done it before. We just want to learn stuff and have fun. So that's kind of the idea. Question number Frau. Do you do swaps for other people, or the question is typically, will you do my swap? So the very long, kind of difficult, hard to understand answer to that question is no. I don't. So that's about it. So I don't know, it's not that I'm unwilling or I don't like helping people. It's not necessarily that. I'm more of the personality that I like to work on my own things and kind of set my own pace. When you're doing things for other people, there's expectations, there's weird shit going on, and it's not really something that I'm interested in. I'm a very busy person. You know, with 3 kids and everything else going on with work and my own projects, it's not really something that I'm interested in doing at this point, and possibly never, because I did do some larger stereo builds for people, but it was always with the expectation that I was going to take the vehicle for several months, like usually over winter, and I'll get it back to you when I'm done with it. So I have done like one build specifically that I did for a guy who had 12 12s and a Blazer. He wanted a similar design that I had in my Chrysler 300 that I had 8 15s in. It was a diamond-shaped wall, and he wanted that thing, didn't really have expectations for a timeline. He gave it to me over winter, and he just wanted to bring it to the first show of the season during the spring. So I was able to do it under my own timeline. He was fine with it. He got a decent price. I made a little bit of money, so that was okay. But other than that, I'm not really very interested in it, because people usually want something for not very much. So especially when you're bringing it to other people, and I'm not a shop, so it's always going to be, that's my perception anyways, it's always going to be, that guy fucked up my stuff. Like if anything ever happens to it, like you run over a nail, 2 years from now, it'll be my fault because I changed the blinker fluid, 3 years ago. So that's my perception. Anyways, could be wrong. Let me know in the comments. All right. Why are you switching to, question number 5, why are you switching to 4x4? So in the trucks, I did have a very good question actually recently about why I'm switching, and especially with the drivetrain loss. So I understand that there's gonna be more drivetrain loss with having to run the 4-wheel drive, and I guess the fastest ET and the fastest speed, all that stuff isn't really my main concern with what I'm doing right now. I'm more focused on wanting to be able to do some ice racing over winter, and I want to be able to daily drive it during winter, whether I can like wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning to go to work, and we had a shitload of snow, and I can pop it in 4-wheel drive and drive to work and not have an issue with it. So I do plan on putting like heater box and stuff back in, and I kind of just want to change some stuff, just do it differently, and it's just an opportunity to build something. So as far as summer goals with it, if I could get it as fast as it was, I did 11.2 last year. If I could get it like anywhere near there, like mid to low 11s on street tires, that would be awesome. I mean, I'd like to shoot for a 10-second time with street tires with 4-wheel drive, but that's kind of a reach. So, or maybe it's a reach. I don't know. We'll see where it goes, but that's kind of where my head's at right at this moment. So question number 6, what do you do for work? What do I do for work, and how do I pay for all this stuff. So this is kind of multiple questions all into one question. So what do I do? What does my wife do? Like, what is our family situation? So I have a wife. I am me. We have 3 kids. My wife is a stay-at-home mom, so she hasn't worked in about 6 years now. She's been a stay-at-home mom and takes care of our wonderful children. And I am a production supervisor at a manufacturing facility, we'll say that. So basically work in a factory. I've been there for about 11 years. Just kind of did the whole, started as a temp and then worked my way to a production supervisor position, and that's what I've been doing for, I've been at the same place for about 11 years. So yeah, I'm not like a mechanic by trade. I haven't gone to college. I didn't really have any other education or anything. I was in the military for like 6 years. So I did do that, but other than that, like no mechanical training or anything. I think that's why people ask that question is like, what do you do? They think I'm a professional mechanic and I like change oil filters all day and then come home and want to change oil filters. And that's not really what it is. Started with typical like general labor type activities, did some machine operating, some forklift driving, and different leadership positions and stuff like that. So it's pretty much the beans. What is question number 7? What is a21bravo? What does that mean? So like, where did that come from? So some of you guys know this already, and it's probably people that were in the military or know a little bit about it. So a21bravo is actually, like I said before, I was in the military for 6 years. I was an a21bravo. That was my MOS. So basically that was my job when I was in the Army, and I was a combat engineer and did that for 6 years, and that's where the a21bravo comes from. So it was now switched to 12bravo, but I created this account years and years and years ago with no intent on ever making a video, and just kind of kept the same name. I started making videos and channel got popular pretty quick, and I didn't want to change the name for fear of losing the base that I had at the time. So that's pretty much that. And what's funny about the a21bravo, like it's all typed in together. One of my highest searched terms for the channel is a21 space bravo. Like, it's spelled wrong. So I was like scratching my head one day when I looked at that, like, oh, my 3rd highest search term is my username spelt wrong. That's awesome. All right. So, okie dokie. So question number 8. Was I ever into street racing? So, no, never did. Well, I'll take that back. So when I was very, very young, like in high school, when I was in high school, I graduated in 05, so like 04, 05, that's when like Fast and the Furious 1 came out and everybody was a street racer at the time. Like, yeah, I was that guy. Like, borrowed my mom's truck and I would go race it, and we'd go like on lunch and go drive around and just be idiots. So that was about it. And when I had lost my license twice by the time I was 17. So I lost my license when I was 16, ended up getting it back and then losing it like a month later again for speeding. And basically when that happened when I was 17, that was really tough because having a SR22 on your record when you are a 17-year-old and you're paying, $200 some a month for liability on a Ford Ranger, it's a little rough. So I didn't do a whole lot of speeding after that. I wasn't really interested at all in like going fast, and I think that's why I shifted to car audio, and I was interested in car audio and like suspension modification and internal like electronics, video system, stuff like that for a long time, and then eventually shifted into this. And now I'm a little bit more responsible and like to go to the track to do my testing. All right, question number 9. What advice would you give as a YouTuber that's dealing with all the basic YouTube stuff? So making videos, trying to get discovered, dealing with haters, all the other shit. So I would say the biggest thing right now, especially with YouTube's new monetization policies, is don't do it for the money. Like, yep. I think everybody knows that now. Like, people make money doing YouTube. So don't do it for that reason. Find something you're passionate about and you actually love to frickin' do it. And you're just gonna do it anyways. And that's how I started with this channel, was I'm basically just doing the stuff that I'm already gonna be doing anyways, recording it and sharing it with people. So don't create an account thinking like, I'm gonna do this and become a YouTuber, because you'll be very disappointed, because it's very, very challenging. Other stuff, so I would say for that one, like, if you're gonna do it, it can be very difficult to kind of brand yourself, make a name for yourself, do something that's different, because there's so many people out there doing the same stuff. How do you separate yourself, differentiate yourself in some way from everybody else that's doing the same thing, and staying consistent? So like for me, for example, it's extremely difficult for me to make videos, especially on a near daily basis, with everything that I have going on, and work and 3 kids, and we're homeschooling and doing this channel and everything else. It's very difficult to find the time to make videos and get them up consistently. So hopefully you guys appreciate that. It can be challenging. And then the other thing is like dealing with haters, I guess. And I get a lot of questions about this. Believe it or not, I get a lot of questions about this, and a lot of people asking, because there's a lot of just like really nasty people out there that just want to be, I don't know what their deal is, but they just want to try to make you have a bad day. So I guess I've been dealing with it for so long, it's not an issue. It's not really, I don't know, just ignore it. Honestly, I usually kind of mess with people, and I've talked to people about this. I think I talked to Robert from Bad Luck Garage about this, and I explained this to him, and he's like, damn, dude, that's a fucking good idea. So what I usually do is when people try to be antagonistic, or they want to be like a hater, I guess you could call it, I usually try to egg them on and like try to give them a little more ammo sometimes, because the YouTube algorithm, now we're going to go back to strategy here. The YouTube algorithm actually looks at any type of commenting or likes, dislikes, anything like that. They look at it as engagement. So I talk to somebody, or somebody makes a comment, I'll make a comment back. Usually they get defensive, and then they want to comment back. And then you can say something weird, and then they want to comment back. So basically what it's doing is it's driving traffic back to the same location over and over and over and over again. They think that they're like getting you riled up and pissed off, but you're just actually kind of manipulating them into coming back and driving traffic and showing engagement to help promote your videos. Don't let it bother you, and just have fun with it, really, because it's words. If you let words bother you, you're gonna have a rough life. Okay, what are the goals? Question number 10. What are the goals for the Z and the Ranger? So I talked a little bit about the Ranger already. The Ranger, I would like to do, like I said, ice racing, test the limits of the front differential, see where that goes. And I really, this is like top secret, I've only shared this with a couple people, I would love to do a 4-wheel burnout. I just think it'd be cool, even if I can just get one. Like, I don't know if it's like sloppy trans brake launch and light up all 4 tires. If I can do that like once or twice, I'll be set, and I'll be happy with that. So I'd like to daily drive it a little bit and put a heater back in it, stuff like that, and still leave this thing as the kind of, maybe not the most reliable, but we have a lot of fun with it and we learn with it car. And then the Z, honestly, with the twin turbos, like I said before, I think I would like to put a decent set of pistons in it. Probably leave the 5.3 block in it. I know I keep going back and forth with that one. But this 6-liter block being broken, I don't want to put a whole lot of time into that thing. So I'm going to keep the 5.348 block in there. I might actually go back to a 4.8. I'm debating on doing a 4.8 so I can rev it a little higher, because I believe the gear ratio in this transmission for the Z is kind of short. With the 6 gears, I think it's kind of short, so I might want to use that to my advantage with a 4.8 to rev it a little higher so I can stay in the gears a little bit longer. That's kind of my theory. So I'd like to build something, essentially take a little bit more time on this one, make it reliable so it's not breaking all the time when me and my wife are out enjoying it. That's really what I would like to see happen with that car for this year anyways. So that's all I got, guys. If you have any other questions, or this kind of like stimulated or generated some other questions, let me know. Put it in the comments. I don't mind answering questions, and if I get like a series of like 10 other questions, I could probably do one. Maybe do like weekly, or maybe we could do it on a live stream or something like that. But thanks for watching. Have a good one.